So we were working on page 308, number 64. Which was the problem with the Archimedes arch. And we showed that if we found the area under the arch for part A, which was negative 2 to 3, 6 minus x squared dx, that using the fundamental theorem of calculus part 2, we could take the antiderivative of the integrand, which we did term by term because it was a polynomial, and then we would substitute in the upper limit and write a minus sign and then substitute in the lower limit. And so we did all of that, and I told you that we had to leave our answer as a fraction because it made me happy and I am the queen of the world, at least for the next 30 minutes. And then we had to go on to part B. And somebody read us part B, please. Okay, so we need to find the height of the arch. What shape is the arch? It's a parabola, an upside down parabola, as it were. And we need to find effectively this distance. And what do we call this? Anybody? It's got a name. That would be the whole line. I want to know what the point is. The vertex. So does anybody remember how to find the x-coordinate of the vertex of a parabola? Which is the same thing. Not the line, but yes. And then now once we have the x-coordinate for this, we can substitute it back into our formula for our parabola, and that'll give us the height, which is the y value. So x for the vertex is going to be negative. What's b going to be? Not 1. What was it? Negative 1. Because remember, it's the coefficient of the x term. Over 2 times a, and what's a? Negative 1 as well, because that's the coefficient of the x squared term. Well, it's actually not 1 over 2. It's negative 1 over 2. So x vertex is going to be negative 1 over 2. And then we're going to substitute that back in to our equation for y. So that's going to give us 6 minus negative a half minus negative a half squared. I think that's right. Okay, because we have our original equation up here. And what do we get for the height? Well, you've got 6 minus a half gives you plus a half. Minus negative a half squared is 1/4. So what does this part give you? No. No, it gives you a quarter. A half minus a quarter is a quarter. I'm not adding it. There's a big fat negative sign there. Yes. So, but Casey was, oi. Okay. But because I'm in a fraction kind of mood, it's 25/4. Okay. So, let's go to everybody got what they need? We all good? All right. So, part C, what does part C say? Okay. So, 2/3 b times h. We found h. It was 25/4. But we need the base. What's the base going to be? And of course, we want this to be equal to our answer from part A. Yeah, because here's my arch again. What's my x value going to be over here? What's my x value going to be over here? 2. Okay. And then we said that the height was 25/4. So what's that distance? 5. Okay. So I've got 2/3. My base is 5. My height is 25/4. Can do a little simplification here. Cancel the 2's. 5 times 25 is... All right, I'm going to pretend that nobody answered that question. Let's try that again, ladies. People. 125, yeah. Divided by 6. Very good. Thank you, students. And is that what we got in part A? Yeah. Okay. No, you were a mess. Most of you. Okay. Most of you who were talking were a mess. No, just because the next one's going to be harder. What? This is still 6.4. All right, we ready to move on? We're only going to do one more problem, and then we're at the beginning I said we're going to do 2 more problems from chapter 6.4, and then we're going to go over the break homework. Jeez Louise. We're halfway through. Come on. All right, let's go. Come on, people. Because you've been whining. Okay, we're going to go back to I think everybody needs to think before they open their mouths. Okay? And let's go back to what it says in the chemistry lab. I was admiring that the other day, that think. Is it the truth? Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it, what's the I? Maybe, because the N is it necessary? And the K is it kind? Okay. So let's think about all those things, and whatever the I is, I don't remember. Interesting is not the word, because many things are interesting that we don't need to hear about. All right, somebody read us number 59, please. You got to read the whole thing from the beginning, please. F is the differentiable. Okay. So, I didn't quite work out here. That's a little better. Okay. So, this is f of x. Okay. I should probably get rid of that, but 6 is where the straight line ends. And then to find the distance, that's the integral to whatever time you're looking for of the function. You will have, I would guarantee it, that's your favorite drink at Starbucks, that you will have a question like this on the AP exam. There's always a question like this on the AP exam. You need to just follow the directions and remember what you know. AP Physics people, it's going to be a little harder for you because you're going to want that graph to be something, and it's not. Yeah, a little bit. Okay. Because you're going to want that connection to the physical world that it is. Okay, so what's part A? Okay, so how do we find velocity? Well, hang on. No. ds dt, right? So that means that I'm going to take d by dt of the integral from 0 to t of f of x dx. Okay. Now, that means, what's this going to become? Not f of x, f of t. That's what the fundamental theorem of calculus part 1 tells us. Okay. But it's the same f. I'm just going to substitute t in, right? And remember that my curve up here is f of x. So I'm going to need to know an equation for my curve here so that I can substitute in t equals 3. Okay, so what kind of curve do I have here around 3? I have a straight line. So you find the equation of the straight line and tell me what it is. It's not a horizontal line at y equals 2. Elf, what do you think? Are they right? Yeah. Zoe, what do you think? Yeah? Okay. So this is going to be my f of x, which is going to become my f of t. So this is going to be 2t minus 6. And then because I want v of 3, I'm going to substitute in 3 every time I have a t, and what am I going to get? 0. Okay. You with me? All right. Part B. What does Part B ask us for? Okay, so we want to know if A of 3 is positive or negative. What do you know about A? Always. Okay, so it's dv dt, which also means it's the second derivative of s. And remember that v is equal to f of t, right? From part A. So that tells me that the acceleration is going to be what? Let's get the formula first. Well, it's going to be df dt, which means it's the slope of f of t or f of x, right? And yes, we could use our formula and give it a value of t. But if we go back and look at our picture, is the slope here at 3 positive or negative? Positive. Okay, so that slope is going to be greater than 0. You can get it from the graph. You can get it from the equation that we had for v. Okay. You with me? We good? All right, how about part C? What does part C ask us for? Okay, so I want to find S of 3. And I have an expression for S, right? What's my expression for S? Okay, so in this case, it's going to be the integral from 0 to 3, since that's what I'm looking for, f of x dx. And what's an integral, really? It's the area under the curve. Okay. And if we go back and we look at our picture, I want this area, which is what geometric shape? Triangle. Okay. So find me the area of that triangle. Give everybody a chance. Give everybody a chance. What'd you get, Zoe? -9. Is that what my other speedy calculators got? Excellent. All right. You doing all right back there, Rebecca? Okay. Why is it negative? Because it's below the axis. Okay. It's above the curve, but it is below the axis. Okay. All right. We good? We got it? All right. What does part D ask us to do? So what do I want to know? No, you... What? I don't think so. I think you're falling into the AP Physics trap if you want that graph to mean something. Okay? I am looking for time. When what? When what? Read me the problem again. Yeah, but what's the variable that goes with, well, passes through the origin means what? I'm looking for the, and we don't talk about displacement, we're talking about what? Position. And what is the letter that goes with position? S. So I want to know when S of t is equal to 0. This particle is really only moving in one dimension. I think it tells you that somewhere. Is it true? Okay, so my formula for S of t is 0 to t f of x dx, and I want to know when that's going to be equal to 0. What does this mean again? Area under the curve. Okay, now I already have some information about that, right? I already know that from t equals 0 to 3 that I'm where? I've gone -9, right? And we're going to assume that wherever we started was the origin. Okay, right? Because if I let t be equal to 0 up here, that would work. Terribly uninteresting. And what we would call the null answer. But true. So if I start at 0, at t equals 0, and I go -9, I'm going to be back at 0 when? When what, Sari? Why? How do you know that? Yes, it's true when t equals 6, but how do you know that? Okay, so this area will be what? +9. So that's going to cancel out my -9 from there. Okay, and then I'll know that I've gone 9 one way and I've come back 9 the other way, and I'm back at the origin. Because I want the area under the curve to be equal to 0. I believe it is. Up until x equals 6, it's a straight line. So, again, you want the graph to have physical meaning. It's kind of sort of the velocity, but not entirely. Okay, so as Sari said, from 3 to 6, we go a +9. And we add those together, and now the area under our curve is 0. So that means that the t value that we're looking for is 6. Okay, you with me? Are we going to go through the origin again as far as this portion of the graph is concerned, like what we've drawn here? Why not? I've only got positive area, so I'm going to keep moving in the positive direction. Okay, we don't know what happens after wherever this point is. But, okay. All right, part E. What does part E ask us? All right, so I want acceleration equal to 0. How do I get acceleration? Okay. So that was d2s dt squared, or dv dt, which was equal to what before? Well, let's start with f prime of t, okay? Because it's not necessary, it's only going to be that 2t minus 6 for the straight line portion. After x or t equals 6, it's going to change, okay? So if I want that to be equal to 0, what am I finding from my curve? Nope. No. What am I finding? What am I finding, Casey? A max or a min, right? F prime equals to 0 means my slope is horizontal. So if you look at the graph, where do I have a max or a min? Okay, so somewhere around here at t equals 7 is my max. I don't think so. I don't think this is a situation where we'd really count that in points. Okay. All right, we good? We got it? All right, part F. Okay, so if I want to know which way the particle's moving, what kind of quantity am I talking about? Yeah, but positive or negative what? Velocity. Okay. So remember that velocity is always going to be ds dt. And that's equal to what now? By the fundamental theorem of calculus part 1. Look back, we've done this. What's velocity equal to? F of t, actually. Okay. Not as far as I'm concerned. Usually, I don't know. Yeah. And my test would be, oh wow, look. They're like crossbreeding their ideas in their head. How beautiful. Um, on the AP Calc exam, the solutions that I have seen, I can't imagine that they wouldn't. There's usually an alternate solution. I would imagine as long as what you did was sound and you got the right answer in the end. I would think. Mm. All right. So basically what we're looking for then is the sine of f of t, right? So remember that we're starting at the origin. And then what's the sine, or where does the, what's the sine of f of t when we're starting out down here? Negative. And it's negative up until when? T equals 3. Okay. Oops, wrong way. Okay. So from t goes from 0 to 3, what's the velocity going to be? Positive or negative? Negative. Okay. And then where does it change direction? T equals 3. So actually, I guess what we're looking for is when it's moving towards and when it's moving away, right? So if we make a little number line here, here's s of 0. So it's moving away from the origin. And then what's it doing from 3 to 6? Well, it's moving back towards the origin, right? Because it turned around. So this is going to be towards, because we know that s of 6 is taking us back to the origin. Well, it doesn't change direction, so it keeps moving this way. It's moving away from the origin. It's moving in the positive direction, but it's moving away from the origin. So you have to be careful about what the question is asking you. Okay. All right. We got it? We good? All right, one last part. 1 minute to go. What does part G ask us? Well, I think we just answered that. What is it? Here we are at t equals 9 over here, right? So we're on the positive side. Okay, but we can also prove that, because if we figured out what the position was at 9, that would be our integral from 0 to 9 of f of x dx, which would give us the area under the curve, right? Because that's what an integral is. Well, I know that from 0 to 6 is one thing, and from 6 to 9 is another. And of course, by the properties of integrals, I can take this integral and break it into two integrals. I can pick some point anywhere between 0 and 9 and break it up, as makes me happy. What's this? 0, right? Because I move away 9 and then I move back towards 9. And then what's the SIGN sign of that area? Positive. Because the area is above the x-axis. So that tells me that my position at s equals 9 is going to be greater than 0, or on the positive side. Okay. And that takes us to the bell. The quiz tomorrow is on 6.1 to 6.3. I've graded all the homework except Elf. I didn't grade yours. I apologize. I forgot to go to your other notebook, but I'll do it during third period. And that's what the quiz is tomorrow. If you're going to do the extra credit worksheets, you need to turn those in tomorrow with the quiz. There were only 2. And again, I haven't done one of them, so if you come across something weird, skip it. Okay, don't freak yourself out about it. Okay? All right. And we will start 6.5 on